What if I were to tell you that there's a shift you can make today in terms of how you see conflict with your wife that would not only allow you to approach your relationship with calm and empathy, but also something that wouldn't just work for a couple weeks, but actually stick with you? In this video, I'm going to talk about some key reframes that logic-focused and emotionally distant men can make when their wife is asked for separation or divorce to actually shift at their core how they manage their emotions and handle conversations with their wives so that they actually feel understood, supported, and connected. Before I go any further, if you're new to this channel, I just want to quickly introduce myself. My name is Mark, and I'm a 37-year-old husband and father with a CPA and MBA who has a tendency to be overly logic-focused and emotionally distant. And that's why I've made it my focus to help other logic-focused and emotionally distant men who want to rebuild connection in their marriage. To get more into this idea of key reframes, I want you to take a moment to imagine a few times in your life while growing up where you potentially felt rejected, put down, dismissed, or ignored. Maybe it's got something to do with how one of your parents spoke to you growing up. Maybe it's related to something that happened in a previous relationship, or maybe it's a challenging experience you had with a close friend or coworker. Now, once you have some memories that you can recall, I want you to choose one of these memories specifically. And if you really sit with this memory, I'm sure you'll agree with me that it doesn't feel great and that even probably creates some degree of discomfort in your body. Chances are that it might also bring up emotions of both sadness and anger. And if you really sit and think about it, I think you'd also agree with me that some of the experiences you encounter today might also hit you harder because of some of the things that have happened in the past. I know in my case, I grew up with my dad being quick to react with anger whenever I did something wrong. And that in turn translated to me being more quick to feel uneasy and reactive whenever my wife or others brought up something towards me. And this meant that I was also much more quick to get defensive or dismissive as a way to protect myself. And really, if you stop to think about it, although it's the current version of me reacting, in some ways, it's actually not. In some ways, it's still actually that younger, more fearful kid version of me responding whenever my wife brings up something to me that I think is more accusatory. So where am I going with all this when it comes to you being able to meet your wife with more patience and understanding? Well, the same way I just shared the idea of it being the 5 or 10-year-old version of me who responds when my wife brings up something accusatory, the same idea applies when your wife is feeling more emotional than you would have expected about something you've said or done. Now imagine if you could fully envision that 5 or 10-year-old version of your wife when she does come to you about something that's emotionally weighing on her. And I don't mean just kind of imagine it, I mean really imagine it. Think about how she would look and what her voice would have sounded like at that age. Reflect on what she might have been going through during that time in her life. Consider the struggles or pains that younger version of her was already carrying, and now look at what you recently said or did through her eyes. Your actions might be causing her even more distress because they connected those old wounds from childhood. So it's not really just that current version of your wife that might be reacting in certain scenarios with you. It's actually just as much that younger, wounded version of your wife who's gone through similar experiences of being hurt at some point in the past, just like we all have. Now, if you're not fully connecting the dots on why I'm saying this idea of imagining the younger, wounded version of your partner is so powerful when it comes to conflict and building empathy for your partner, let me share a little bit more to help. The reason why I said this is such a powerful technique is really twofold. The first being, it actually is the reality of what's going on. When your wife is at her breaking point or bringing something up, she's responding from a place of unmet childhood needs or hurt. Likewise, when you become defensive, that's likely your own child version trying to protect himself from perceived criticism. In my own situation, I know my wife often felt that growing up, she was often ignored and forgotten about by her parents who had busy careers, and so she's much more prone to feeling lonely because of that. I, on the other hand, was much more likely to be approached with anger about something, so I'm much more likely to get defensive or just shut down and avoid things altogether because conflict creates a fight or flight mechanism in me. When anyone feels hurt, not actually the adult version of them that's activated and feels emotional in that moment. It's actually the younger child version of them that was wounded by different events in life growing up and felt alone, confused, and likely really sad. The second reason why this idea is so helpful is because if it's actually fully internalized, it can cause a core shift. And even following our content for a while, you know we're all about core shifts and not temporary strategies that you'll fall off of in a couple months. When we can truly grasp this, that when our partner feels hurt in a specific moment and is coming to us emotionally charged, that's actually the younger, wounded version of them coming to us, it makes it much harder for us not to feel some empathy for what they're bringing up on an ongoing basis. And this idea of it's their inner child being activated with a difficult emotion can apply to all sorts of scenarios. Whether it's your wife or yourself, any of us could be activated by experiences of being ignored, criticized, abandoned, rejected, or just not feeling safe in general. And even though it's your partner that might be making you feel these things in a specific moment, chances are that any of these experiences can be tied to an experience in the past where we felt the same way more than once. Now, if you're listening to this and thinking these are wishy-washy ideas, I totally get your perspective on this as well. As I said earlier, I'm very logic-focused and emotionally distant myself. But this isn't some hypothetical idea. This is all backed by modern scientific research. Our bodies, and more specifically our nervous systems, in an effort to make us feel safe, store past experiences and have a hard time telling a thought and past experience from what's happening right in front of us. And because of this, it's much more likely for us to get activated in different situations. This often shows up as anger or defensiveness on the surface, but if you dig deeper, it's almost always hurt or the fear of getting hurt below it. The other variable to this that you also want to keep in mind is your partner's reactions that you might find annoying or frustrating might actually be stemming from what they thought they needed to do once upon a time in their life to feel safe and survive during their childhood. When I say survive, I don't truly mean the idea of your wife's life was in danger growing up, but it's actions and behaviors she needed to do or not do to manage her emotions and get by in life during a difficult period. Hopefully, as you're listening to this, it's further feeding into the core shift you need to be making around seeing your wife's reactions as them trying to feel safe more than actually trying to attack you. Now, everything I've talked about so far is around the idea of how you can shift your perspective to be able to better manage when your partner is feeling emotionally charged through this core shift of understanding it's a child version of your partner showing up in these moments. But I also want to take a moment to talk about something just as important. And for some of you watching this idea might sound cheesy or too sappy. I know if you definitely told this to the old version of me, Mark 1.0, that's how I would have responded. But after reflecting quite a bit and seeing this idea play out countless times, I've definitely had a change of heart on this. And this is specifically the idea of the amazing power of relationships and connection to be antidotes to all the wounds we suffered growing up. Because believe it or not, if you boil most of the ones you have in life down to their core, they center around something relational. Take a common problem experienced by many logic-focused and emotionally distant men who are driven, and that's the idea of needing to achieve to feel complete and happy inside. Sure, on the surface, this doesn't look like a relational problem, but after working with so many men, I can clearly tell you this is a relational problem. Because pretty much most desire to achieve big things is driven by a need to feel recognized and appreciated by others, whether that's trying to address the recognition you didn't get from your family, friends, or others growing up, or whether it's the recognition you're desiring from those around you today. And this is where a truly connected relationship can be almost a magical antidote to this feeling of not enough. What I mean by this is if you can turn around your relationship and build a meaningful connection with your wife, where she truly recognizes and appreciates you, just like you should truly recognize and appreciate her, this can be a massive step forward in helping heal some of the wounds you have from the past. Once again, I know this might sound cheesy, but it's a big belief I have and one of the reasons why I'm motivated to do the work that I do. Now, if everything I've said in this video has resonated with you, and you're someone who's serious about rebuilding your relationship with your wife, I want to invite you to check out the link in the description to join our relationship rebuild program, where not only do we equip you with what you need to rebuild your relationship, but also offer you the support and accountability of our community so that you don't have to walk this journey of growth and transformation alone. As a first step, you can book a free advisory call with someone on our team. And if you haven't already done so, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button so you can continue to receive more content from our end on how to genuinely restore connection in your marriage.